Hi class, this is Amy. I thought it would be helpful for you if I walked through this week the various things on the Blackboard course and gave you an idea of what to expect. So first of all, this week is about childhood, and from the readings we can see it's from infancy through early childhood and then middle to late childhood. So there are 3 sections, which is a total of 7 chapters. So it is a lot of reading this week. And hopefully some of you got a little head start on it from last week, but if not, just plow through and work through. It's very interesting material because there's so much growth and development going on in these stages. So the learning outcomes, things that you're going to want to focus on, would be understanding the stages within each of those within the childhood period, not the rest of this. You're going to want to learn to identify characteristics of each stage, describe developmental crises, what can happen, what are the risks to typical development that might create a crisis or might result from a crisis. We're going to be starting to talk about theories, one of them being learning and cognitive theories. Whenever we talk about theories throughout this course, whatever theory it is, it's important to pick up on the key concepts of each of the theories and also the key individuals. As you go through your program, you'll hear names like Piaget and Freud and Erikson, Skinner, Bronfenbrenner, a number of these different theorists, and it's important to know which theorist goes with which theory. So pay attention to that. You'll want to think about the strengths and weaknesses associated with each theory. Freud, a lot of people don't like Freud. He's been discredited in some ways. At the same time, there are some elements of Freud in Freud's theory and the foundation that he provided for other theorists that built on his work that are important to know. And so you don't necessarily want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, pun intended in this week, but you do need to know about him and his theories, and it's okay to, well, it's important to think about the strengths and weaknesses so that you can speak knowledgeably about them. We'll be talking about personality development in relation to learning and cognitive theories, impact of genetics and environment, the whole nature-nurture, not necessarily antithetical. How do they work together? There's been a lot of research out there that's looking more at the balance. Different areas of development might be affected more by biology. Other areas might be more affected by nurture. Going to look at differences between biological and cultural perspectives of development. That's important as well. What is adaptive in one culture may be maladaptive in another culture, and so developmental differences might actually be beneficial in one place versus another. And so it's important to look at development in the context of the culture. And certainly there are some typical biological restrictions or facilitations, on the other hand, for development. But how does that work with culture? You're going to evaluate an ecological approach to understanding environmental influences on development, not just physical environment. Physical environment is part of it, but that's also the family environment and the cultural environment and the social environment. You're going to be looking at different developmental stages on mental health and the impact there. Wanting to know what positive outcomes for each stage and negative outcomes and possible consequences for each stage are going to be. Mentioned already multicultural pieces and elements. And then identify approaches to dealing with the differences. It's very important in your work as family life educators. You're going to be running across people from different backgrounds and different cultural perspectives, and even people who look the same as you will come or can come from a different cultural perspective. And so it's important to be aware of those differences and learn how to relate to people of all backgrounds. All right, let's go down to the discussion board. Somebody mentioned this past week that that this was not a link that worked, and I can't figure that out, but I can show you where to find the discussion board rubric. So just go ahead and click to the discussion board. We'll go to week 2. Now this says post first. I'm not going to post, but down here you'll see grading information. So you can click on grading information, and before you post anything, you can still see here over, you'll have a grade, and then this little table, that's for the rubric. And when you click on that, the rubric will show up. And so then you can look at the rubric for the discussion board. And you can see the different categories: participation in discussion, content of posting, critical thinking evidenced by posting, responsiveness, and the writing style. And each category is worth 20 points. And then, as I described in the using rubrics to help you with your assignment video from last week, it gives you the different values or the different levels of quality. Sorry, not sure where that went. All right, so I think you can go ahead and look at the details of that later. We'll go back to the page here. So we discussed the discussion board, the rubrics there, participating in that. And then week 2 FLE resource assessment. This was the assignment that I went over in detail in the using rubrics to help with your assignment video. So if you haven't had the opportunity to watch that video, I suggested that you do that. And then you can use the grid here. That will pop up as this pop-up window. Go ahead and download that, and you can just type right in that grid. I'm not going to bring that up at this point. Then I do know that this link does not work. I'm not going to change it. I'm not sure how to change it. Thought it would work. So here again, you can click on that link there, and this is where you would actually submit your work once you're done. But before you're done, you can see that you can look at the rubric up here. And again, that will pop up, and you can look at the rubric for this assignment. Again, the different categories on the left and the quality levels across the top that I went through in the video. So again, this has the information about the assignments, and then this is where you will submit your assignment down at the bottom here. Browsing your computer, and if this is your first class, maybe you aren't familiar with this, and so this is how you would submit it. You click there, browse your computer, would come up, you find the file and insert it there. Plagiarism tools, I agree to submit my papers to the global reference database. Go ahead and click that. That just that means that your paper can also be checked against other students' assignments. Either way, though, this submission is going to go through SafeAssign. All right, well, I believe that is all that we have to look forward to this week. Hope this is helpful, and I look forward to seeing your work.